In this video, we're going to teach you how to make the most efficient, clean, amazing chicken feeder for your backyard chicken homestead. Welcome back to MoonWood Homestead, where we help you become more self-sufficient one project at a time. If you're new here and want to go on some crazy homestead adventures, consider subscribing, leave a like and a comment in the video below. So getting started, we have a couple of different chicken feeders that I'm sure everyone has had at some point in their chicken journey. Most of us started with something like this, and these are great. They work pretty well. You have a very basic gravity style system. Moving from this, we wanted something for our chickens that would be just more efficient. So a better version of this that was also much cleaner, because if you are any chicken handler, you will know that the chicks absolutely get this dirty all of the darn time. So how do we do that? We searched for a bunch of different options, did all of the YouTube research at YouTube University, didn't have a lot of luck with some of the stuff we found. We tried some of the PVC methods. We found that if there was any kind of glue or anything else on the outside, that the chickens would just peck it off. And we also just didn't like the idea of the glue and everything else in our buckets like that. So we wanted to try a different method. So I did some searching online and found some Amazon options for you. I'll have links to a few of them in the video description below, so check those out. This is what we came up with. We really liked this method. This is from Stolt. There's a few different brands though that do the same concept. I haven't tried the other ones. This worked for us. We also found that it was pretty cost efficient, honestly, to get something like this. They were roughly, I want to say like 20 bucks for two of these and some water nipples if you wanted to do a water feeder as well. We have a different method we're doing for ours, so I'll show you that in a different video. But altogether, you know, that's not too bad for getting your stuff taken care of. The other piece that I liked, if you can see it well, is that it's bendable, right? This is not solid plastic. They're not going to hurt their beaks on this. And I've had this existing one for about 6 months or so, and there's been no issues with this whatsoever. So what we're going to do in this video today is I'm going to actually, instead of starting another feeder from scratch, I'm going to actually add on 2 additional feeders or 2 additional portholes for our birds. So like I was saying with this, the first portion of this is just a harder style plastic, and then we can screw right into it. So this way, this is braced really nice and tight and snug against the bucket itself, and there's really no issues. There's no water to get in there. It's just really nice and efficient. So a few of the reasons why we like this style. It's very clean, right? There's no cleaning out poop in this thing because the birds climbed into it. Obviously you can put a lid over the top and there's no way for them to get anything inside this really, especially if I have it elevated off the ground slightly, which I would recommend because otherwise it's really low for the birds to get down to. It by proxy then prevents food waste. There's no waste on your feed, whether you're doing grains, whether you're doing pellets, even if you're doing some fermented feeds. Like you're not having all of that valuable feed go to waste just on the ground for something else to have. It's also a little bit easier on the predator side of things because we can keep this really easily contained within our chicken run. There's nothing else going after it, right? So it's always good fresh feed that can be utilized, and I only have to change this out honestly with 5 birds, and they're medium-sized birds, probably once every 3 to 4 weeks. So not too bad at all. So as far as actually adding these, we're going to get started here. Now, like I said, in the purchase that I made with this, it came with 2 of the ports, it came with the nipples. The other reason I like this method is it actually gives you the tools, not just the screws and stuff like that, but the actual tools that you'll need. So if you're a complete novice like I was when I first started, I now have a whole lot of these different types of tools, but this is really, really handy. So this is the pre-drill that they provide for you for and the hole saw that goes with it as well, which is just convenient to be able to hook that up. So you just simply push this in, screw it on if you're brand new to something like this, and then you screw this into a standard drill, right? So we're gonna do that in just a second. All right, now that we've got our hole saw on, should work fine. Gonna pop that right there. Make sure you grip it tightly. If you're kind of nervous about it, if you've never used one before, have somebody else hold it for you, because otherwise the plastic may fly out a little bit. But goes through pretty simple. Perfect. Clean the rest of that out later. All right. So once you're finished with your hole saw cut, it's definitely recommended to try to use a file or sandpaper or something to just kind of clean it up. Doesn't take much work, but it definitely will save your birds from getting plastic in their beaks and in their system, which we don't want. Just because it says food safe doesn't mean you actually are supposed to eat it. Much smoother. Perfect. Make sure that's good and clean. I'll rinse this out afterwards before we put our feed back into it, but now we've got the easy hole. That was the hardest part of the whole thing, is just putting the hole in it. Next, you're going to take your port, you can just squeeze it from the sides, pop it through. It'll sit pretty snug on it, right? Make sure it's straightened out the way you'd like it. We do it from the 3 inches from the bottom as a standard, because you want to have enough room that the feed can get in underneath it and come up, so that way as they're eating, it's continuing to refill itself. Once it gets below that line, they're going to have a time trying to get through. Mine will actually completely clear this out all the way to the bottom. They don't care. My girls are very, very hungry. But just keep in mind that as this gets a whole lot lighter too, that the bucket can be moved around. It may fall over. I recommend maybe taking your lid, or not your lid, but your handle, tying it maybe to something if you can, or put a weight on the top of it to make sure that nothing knocks it over if you're not as on top of checking your feed, which you totally should be. But I've made that mistake once before. So we're going to push this on like so, and then just do our simple screws. Swap out our bit. They come with Phillips head style, so you may need that as well. So as far as a list goes, you're looking for your food grade bucket, you're looking for some sandpaper or a file, and ideally a power drill with a Phillips head bit. Other than that, nothing else needed besides what you buy from Amazon. All right, so the last step, now that we've got our ports all on, looks good, beautiful bucket, like my green and blue color scheme here, is to put on the covers for the screws. Should be really simple. You just take the tips that it comes with, right? Soft end down with the tab on the outside, and just hand screw them on to where they stay. And that's it. So now we're finished. Pop our lid on, and now we have a very easily accessible feeding system, right? They'll get in right in here. The last thing to really worry about at all is just to elevate this up, because like I said, they'll try to get into it at any angle. It's feed, but if you have it elevated, it makes it considerably easier. You can even take these. I've seen some that'll just flip a bucket and do one on top, because it settles into one another real nicely if you have that much room or that much space. I actually have mine on top of just a little wood platform that I put together that worked out nicely for us. So anything's fine. But that's it. So thanks for coming out and hanging out with us today at MoonWood. Hope you've enjoyed yourselves. If you did like the video, leave a like, leave a comment if you have any questions, and if you've enjoyed our time together and want to have some more adventures with us in the future, then consider subscribing. Thanks a lot. See you next time.